What's up, bakers? Today I am making pumpkin apple bundt cake, which is, in my opinion, a delicious alternative to pies this time of year. Now, don't get me wrong, I know that pies are traditional on Thanksgiving with friendsgivings and family gatherings, but I dare you to try this cake in place of pie, or in addition to pie at your family gatherings and your friend gatherings. I think that you might agree with me that this could be the next big thing. Who knows? Maybe bundt cake could be the new official dessert of Thanksgiving. So, I have brown sugar, half a cup, 3/4 of a cup of white sugar in my mixer already, and to that, we're gonna add 2/3 cup of oil. So just like you would cream butter and sugar with cookie dough or some cake recipes, I like to mix the oil and the sugars together to kind of make a paste before I add my eggs. So that won't take long. Then next we're going to add 2 eggs, one at a time, and just mix them until they're incorporated. You don't want to over mix at this stage or it's going to make them kind of gummy. Now your eggs don't have to be room temperature for this recipe. Of course they can be, they're always easiest to incorporate at room temperature, but you can take them right out of the fridge. It's one of the things I like most about this recipe is that it's really easy to bring together and it's really delicious. Okay, so we've got both eggs in. Okay, so next we're going to add our spices. Now I'll put the recipe in the description below, but I have tweaked it a little bit. So the recipe calls for a tablespoon of cinnamon, but what I like to do is 2 teaspoons of cinnamon and 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. I think it gives a more like aromatic smell and taste to it instead of just the cinnamon note, which I think picks up really nicely with the pumpkin then. So we're doing 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon baking soda. And I like to add this right into the wet mixture here instead of mixing it with the flour. You want to make sure all that spice is really evenly distributed, and I think this is the best way. It gets mixed this way, and then as you add each ingredient, continues to distribute. It smells really good. Teaspoon of vanilla, measured very precisely and accurately. Sometimes you have to just take a chance. Looking good. Like to scrape down, those spices tend to get stuck on the sides of your bowl. As always, you can do this with a hand mixer. This is a really easy cake to bring together. You could easily just do this with a bowl and a whisk too. Don't even need a mixer. Alright, so at this point, what we want to do is add pumpkin. You just need 1 cup of pureed pumpkin. Say that 3 times fast. Make sure that when you're buying this, you're buying pumpkin and not pumpkin pie filling. They are different and they won't act quite the same in the cake, but it probably wouldn't be the worst mistake made. So 1 cup pureed pumpkin. I'll get it right yet. Add that in. I treat this as a wet ingredient, and that's why I like to mix it in now before we add flour or anything else. And then you're going to get this really rich, dark brown, burnt orange color in the batter. Very fall, something I enjoy. So while you're mixing things like this, or before you start, you want to prepare your bundt pan. You can use any design bundt pan that you want. Mine happens to be a Wilton non-stick bundt pan. Even though it's non-stick, I still butter and flour the pan. I find that using butter and flour over Pam is really helpful. The first bundt cake I ever made it was nonstick, so I didn't spray it because I thought nonstick, and it stuck. Pulled half of the bundt cake right off when I tried to flip it. The second time I made a bundt cake, I was like, okay, I'm gonna spray it with Pam this time. And I sprayed it, and I still flipped it too early, and it still came in half. The third time I was like, okay, I'll follow the advice and I will butter and flour the pan. So you just rub the whole pan, all of the little nooks and crannies with your ridges from the bundt pan with butter, and then just dump some flour in, kind of knock it around until it starts to coat, dump out the excess flour, and then this is what you're left with. This, it has never failed me since. So you want to do this instead of Pam, instead of not greasing it at all, like I stupidly did the first time, and your bundt cake will come out like perfection, and you will be so proud. I am, like, every time. I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful. So we've got the pumpkin, the spices, the sugar, the oil, the eggs, we're all mixed in. So before we add our apple, we're going to add 2 cups of flour. I like to add the flour first because it kind of creates the batter, and then when you mix in the apples, you're mixing it just enough to get them incorporated in the batter, and you're not beating them and breaking up those pieces because you want the nice big chunks. So this is just an all-purpose flour. No need to use cake flour. And of course, if you would like to dirty another dish and have the time, you can sift it. But I am just straight out of the bag, right into the bowl, and it still tastes delicious. That's 1 cup. And then 2 cups. It's going to be a thicker batter. That's okay. When we add the apples, you're going to wonder if the ratio is right with apple to cake, and I did the first time as well. This is my 4th time making this because my friends have just gone crazy for it. And I know for sure that that is just fine. You want a nice thick batter. I'm going to scrape things down here. We are almost done already, if you can believe it. Told you, really easy to bring together. And it has all of the delicious flavors I think that people like about pie. You've got pumpkin, you've got apple, you've got the cinnamon, the spices. So really, it's less hassle. You don't have the crust, you're not worried about if it's baked or if it's set. This is a really easy, delicious dessert that could be a Thanksgiving game changer. So, last 4 cups of peeled, cored, diced apples. You can use any kind of apples you want. I usually like to do a mix, Honeycrisp, Fuji, and maybe 1 Granny Smith. That way you get tart, sweet, and juicy. But like I said, whatever kind of apple is your favorite, go for it. So now we're just going to give it a little mix just to get everything incorporated. It is okay to do this in your mixer. Maybe, there we go. Just until you start to see the apple pieces coated. Perfect. Pull the bowl down. Push this back here. Alrighty. Oh, it is this golden color. It's beautiful. It smells really good. When you cut into this cake, it's going to be really moist, dense, but you're going to see everything that's in it. So you'll see the golden color, you'll know the pumpkin's there, you'll see the specks of the cinnamon and the nutmeg, which I really like, and you'll see those big, beautiful chunks of apple. So now we're just going to pour it into our pan. I just kind of like to go around with the pan to help it evenly distribute. And you will want to preheat your oven to 350. That's what we're going to bake it at. Now this will bake 50 to 60 minutes. Kind of depends. I like to check it at 50 minutes, and then it usually needs about another 5. you do want a toothpick or cake tester to come out clean. So now I'm just going to kind of level it out here. Beautiful. And it will rise almost to the top of the pan. So the fact that you have some room there is perfect. Let's show you what it looks like in the pan here. See, looks beautiful. All those chunks of apple and that color, it's delicious. So once we bake this for 50 to 60 minutes, you want to take it out, put it on a wire rack in the pan and let it sit. I found the magic number to be 40 minutes. The recipe says 40 and it is right. Let it sit for 40 minutes and then I run a butter knife down the grooves of the bundt pan and around the center and flip it out onto that wire rack, take the pan away and let it cool for at least another hour. Once you've cooled it, you can top it however you want. The recipe uses a caramel sauce, but I find that the caramel kind of overpowers the cake, so I just do a simple powdered sugar mix, usually with an apple cider to give it a little extra flavor, and crushed sweet pecans on top. So this is headed into the oven and then you'll be able to enjoy it with everyone. So if you're thinking about going away from pie this Thanksgiving, or you just need something for a potluck that's a little bit different, I think the pumpkin apple bundt cake is definitely the way to go. So I hope you guys enjoy this and I'll see you next time. Bye.